Hello everybody, welcome back to SEO Academy. We have with us our favorite lead developer from Websites Depot. Welcome Nick Jeffers.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Good.
Yeah, thank you for taking your time to be part of our SEO Academy, teaching our students, small business owners, basics about the internet. Like we heard the news that right now people in Russia are teaching people from, they used to do like labor, are teaching them now technology, founded by Vladimir Putin himself. Very interested. So I guess what we're doing good here too. We prepare a couple questions. I mean, it's empty. Nothing over here for you. But since you're a lead developer for one of a prominent web agency in Silver Lake, Websites Depot. Tell us more about your job. Like, what does lead developer actually do every day-to-day basis?
Basically, I'm in charge of making sure things go smoothly. If I need to help step in to kind of make sure, if there's any issues with the website or any functionality that other people can't figure out or other developers can't figure out. Basically, I am the go-to person if there's any trouble. It's my job to fix any issues or solve any problems.
Okay, so some people call you WordPress Google. I hear that's a nickname for you in the office. We can just imagine what WordPress Google means. Let's go back to the questions that our students at SEO.Academy are asking us. Basically, they are asking us why they should choose WordPress as a main platform for their small business. Why they shouldn't choose Wix or Weebly or let's say Squarespace, or what would you suggest or recommend WordPress for them?
Well, WordPress, with any platform, there's going to be a lot of pros and cons. WordPress, for example, a lot of things that it has going for it is it's the most popular platform that is on the internet right now. About 1 out of every 4 new domains that are created are built on WordPress. So that's a huge number when you look at the grand scheme of things. Because of this, you have a lot of pros on that site, such as it's very popular. And with popularity comes both good and bad. One of the good things is it has a very big community of people working on it, fixing bugs, fixing security issues, creating new things, creating new solutions. It's just a very active community. If you have a problem, there's definitely somebody there that can solve it. And that's pretty much the main pro that I can have on there. It is open source, so you can see all the code. If you are a developer, it helps with development.
Open source.
Yeah. So there's that. And generally, if there's a problem, if you have any kind of custom work that needs done or any kind of solution that other platforms might be locked down on that, there's always a way to make it. If it can be done, it can probably be done in WordPress.
Okay, that's very interesting, and it's true that there's most of the websites on the internet are built in WordPress. So we totally agree with Nick's statements. We do support WordPress as a #1 platform for small business owners most of the time. How many times would you guys, if you guys have 100 websites to build in the next 30-40 days or next couple months, how many of those 100 websites that you guys build will be built in WordPress platform?
Out of 100, probably 80 to 85 is probably a pretty good number.
Okay, so what are the other platforms that you guys usually build sites on besides WordPress?
Depending on what solution they need, whether it's an informational site for maybe a small business, medium business, or if it's maybe e-commerce, maybe you're selling some things. It all depends on, budget, how many products you have. For example, if this was e-commerce, some of the larger e-commerce sites would need something actually outside of WordPress, which is Magento, which is really good e-commerce platform when you have heavyweight, big shopping platforms, with many, like thousands of products, would go with Magento. If you had something lighter, like, just normal 15 to 50 kind of products, something on the lower end, WordPress is definitely plenty for you.
Okay. On the other hand, Nick, we would like to hear from you. You're an expert in web development and design. sometimes people would like to choose between WordPress and Shopify or WordPress and Magento. Like, what is your decision based off, or what would you recommend? Our listeners and watchers on our YouTube channel. What should they consider? Shopify, we know, has a monthly fee as low as $79 per month. WordPress, as you mentioned, is an open source. For some of you that don't know what open source stands for, believe it or not, a lot of people ask this question. Open source is basically open in the market, that everybody can access it and everybody can modify the code. It's not, it doesn't come with the monthly fees or copyright infringements and stuff like that. So, and then on the other hand, we have Magento, which is again an open source for community, and then is like that special edition that is 10,000 plus. What would you recommend them when they don't know what to choose? What would the decision be based off?
Well, partially off of the number of products, for the Magento portion, definitely. If you don't need anything that heavy, then it's kind of a WordPress versus Shopify, probably for the main two platforms. They both have different approaches. WordPress, as Danny mentioned, is free and open. There's no monthly fee for it, whereas Shopify, you have to pay that monthly fee. WordPress is better. WordPress is better with an actual overall site, like if you wanted pages and content, it supports that better than Shopify would. Shopify also has part of the payment methods. If you wanted, say, what are some? Sorry, I'm drawing a blank on some payment methods right now. But
credit cards or
credit card processing,
American Express.
So depending on your payment processor, some of those things are actually extra as part of WordPress as plugins. A lot of those are included as part of Shopify, so that is a nice part if you are going the Shopify method. Shopify also includes SSL is built in. It is kind of a mixed bag on that because of the way that Shopify implements SSL. The checkout is all. It's shared, if you will. It's kind of hard to explain on over film, but WordPress, you can have it built into your actual site. Whereas when you do the Shopify checkout process, when people go to check out, the website, it takes you to a special page. It's actually on Shopify. It's not part of your website. So sometimes potential customers get confused and they might drop off from the website there. So that's one con on the Shopify side. But again, some of those things are handled for you, so it's a little bit more plug and play.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So what he was mentioning basically is, I deal with a lot of those issues when somebody checks out, and let's say you have a domain myshop.com, and then customer will go and check out with a credit card. What will happen is the checkout would redirect them checkout.shopify.com, so there won't be any more yourstore.com. So that's a very good point. And like he mentioned, Shopify does have built-in merchant gateway, which is an add-on. But then again, the merchants are with the monthly fees, so it's up to you guys what guys you choose. And also, like he mentioned, depends on number of products. If we ask you the details, Nick, how would you say number of products? I mean, if I have, let's say, 1,000 products, do I go for this option? If I have 10,000 products, I go for that option. If I'm like a startup with 2 products, how would you determine number of products to be the decision maker for the platform?
Partially number of products and partially price. Depending on those two, you kind of want to. I would consider WordPress probably to be a better option for most. It's not a one size fits all. If you're going in the 10,000 kind of range like that, you definitely need something like Magento. Shopify can handle pretty much the same as WordPress on the amount of products. So if you're not a super large store like that, you should be able to choose either Shopify or WordPress, if those two, depending on the pros and cons of each. But something a lot larger than that, and like he said about the 10,000 range, you definitely need something larger and more serious with e-commerce, which is Magento.
Okay, thank you. A lot of our students at SEO.Academy are asking us how much should a good WordPress responsive site just informational site without e-commerce that we talk about right now, but let's say just some small law attorney office with 2 employees. They would like to have website that works on mobile, that works on tablet, that is so responsive, that is fast, that sends the emails, that they can tap on the phone number and they call the office. What would you recommend? What would their budget have to be? Should they hire a company like yours, or should they just try to go to WordPress.com and build themselves? What would you recommend for them to do in that situation, for some small law office, or a small auto repair shop, or a small dental office? What would you recommend?
I would recommend going. I would recommend probably about $2,000 or so is probably a good range to get a really good WordPress site, an informational one. E-commerce is naturally a bit more behind that. Just in regards to the responsive thing, responsive is relatively new. A lot of developers are kind of being pushed that way because of Google. But most visitors are from mobile devices anyway, and there's a lot more testing and things like that go into it, so there is a bit of time. You can always try to do it yourself, but there's a lot of little things that have been learned over time, for most developers. Things to look out for, issues and potential, issues with forms, for example, or issues on mobile, something's overhanging because you tried to code it yourself. So those kind of things, we have had clients come to us with those. So those are things that we do on a daily basis, so we know about all those issues. They're a daily routine for us. So a lot of those things that you might have to worry about are kind of already taken care of if we were to handle something like that.
Understood. So $2,000. I mean, it's less when usually somebody makes in California every month. So it's a sophisticated budget. But then, let's say if I browse on Craigslist right now and I'm looking here at the Craigslist, and there's guys offering WordPress site for $400 or $500. So why number one, like, what would you say as an expert, because you've dealt with so many people that have built $500 websites and then they came here crying to you, say, hey, nothing is working. What is the main difference between $500 site and a $2,000 site, and why wouldn't you recommend them to go with the cheap web design, and they should choose you instead of them?
Well, us personally as a company, we have a whole dedicated team working together that's kind of involved on the project, whereas something on Craigslist with freelance would probably just be somebody who you might meet at Starbucks. So there's that. You have a full team working there. Also, when it comes down to pretty much anything, time is money. So the more time you can put into something, the better obviously the end product's going to be. Number two, I can't speak for this individual freelancer in the example, so I don't know how much experience they have. I know that we have quite a bit. So there's that, and just when there's no budget there, it's kind of hard for anybody to spend time on anything. You don't want to have some half-baked product. You want to, if you're going to pay for something, you want to make sure that it's a good return on investment. The contact forms are working, that they put the proper phone number in there, that people can even call you. We've had customers before where they didn't even realize their phone number was wrong on the website. That contact forms weren't coming through. There's so many different issues that can be there, and those turn into a loss of sales in the end. So in the end, it's really not worth it. You're actually losing money with some of those if you do go the cheaper route. There's just not enough time to make sure everything's done properly.
Absolutely. So remember, like Nick said, you don't want your business to look cheap. You don't want to have a cheap website and then have a loss of opportunity, loss of sales, making the decision based on the price for your website. On the other hand, let's talk more about, so we know now WordPress, we have options e-commerce, we know the price, we know why to choose an agency or the group of people, a team, and not choose a freelancer. We can talk more about it absolutely down the road from some other videos. If you can subscribe to our channel, we'll see more videos are coming. We'd like to talk about some SEO stuff, like why is WordPress good for SEO, which plugins would you recommend for, let's say I'm already a small business owner, I have a WordPress site, SEO expert Dan is on WordPress. Which plugins would you recommend for us to use? Which part of SEOs are important, and what would you recommend us to to maintain on monthly basis having this WordPress platform?
For SEO, the gold standard, if you will, for SEO on WordPress is actually called Yoast. It's a very simple plugin. You pretty much just install and activate it, and it does a lot for you. It's actually really good. They do have some premium add-ons for that. Whether or not you need them, it's up to you. But most of the time, the free one is actually fine. Oh yeah, it's the spelling here. Yeah, it's kind of. So that's one. That's like the primary one, I would think. But there are other additional ones, like Broken Link Checker is an amazing one. That kind of lets you know, like, when you're building content, for example, say you're writing your own blog post and you're linking to different pages on your site or even other sites completely. It'll basically keep an eye on your whole website and let you know if any of those links are broken, which is. As you know, may or may not know about SEO, WordPress or Google does not like 404s, which are broken links. So it's very good, especially if you're linking to your own content. You're basically just shooting yourself in the foot if you have broken links to your own stuff. So.
Thank you very much. So those are important plugins. Remember, SEO Yoast, Broken Link Checker.
There's more. I'm just blanking a little bit right now.
So the Yoast also handles the sitemap, right?
Yeah,
so that's very
is
important. So
good.
the sitemap is always dynamic rated. Okay, thank you. Now let's talk about speed, right? We've been together at Google last year. Remember, Google has expressed how speed was important at a Google Summit in Silicon Valley. So would like to share with our students. So they have that perception that, oh, let me get high resolution picture, 4000 dpi times 4000 pixels times 2000 pixels, 350 dpi's, like this. Have still that old school mentality that we're gonna print these pictures in catalog or magazines, and and then they come to us and there's like, why is my bounce rate so high? Like, why is my website taking so long to load? I think it's a WordPress, or I think it's a Magento, or what would you say about the speed? What should our students be very, what should they pay attention to when they're like uploading the images and stuff like that, when it comes to keeping that size of the site light and work fast on the internet?
Yeah, as Danny mentioned, speed is a very, very crucial thing, and part of that is basically because as visitors are more and more coming from mobile devices, they might not be attached to high-speed internet. They might be stuck somewhere. Bigger cities don't usually have such a problem, but maybe if you're somewhere outside the big city, you might have 3G or even 2G, as your internet connection for your phone. So speed is very, very important to mobile users, especially as third world countries are getting more into smartphones. So Google knows that, and they're ahead of the ball on that. So speed is very important. As Danny pointed out, you don't want to go overboard on it. Used to be more of like a fireworks grandiose, so let's have like the best images that you can on there. It's not necessarily the case anymore. You kind of need to think mobile first now about your mobile viewers, because those visitors are going to be probably the core of your visitors are going to be coming from mobile, so you need to consider your largest user base. For that, what you want to do is try to keep things trimmed